Welcome to the Inspired by Adventure podcast, bringing you the adventure across the airwaves. Here's your host, Cole Watkins.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inspired by Adventure. My name is Cole Watkins, and I'm coming to you today from our podcast studio in Augusta, Georgia. And my guest today is nearly 10,000 miles away in Sri Lanka. Let me introduce Wildlife Ranger Marlon Buultjeans. How you doing today, Marlon?
Hi, Cole. Hi. I'm doing great. How are you?
I should probably ask how you're doing tonight. So it's over. What time?
Tonight, yeah. It's good morning for you and good evening for me, right?
That's right. That's right. So 10,000 miles away, and we're still able to get on a call like this. So this is really cool. We really appreciate you coming on. You've spent some time being a wildlife ranger for the Aggressor Safari Lodges in Sri Lanka. And
okay.
We just want to hear a little bit about your story and a little bit about how you got into being a wildlife ranger. And maybe toward the end, you could tell us about some of your favorite wildlife encounters.
Sure. Let's do this.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, it's a small village on the west part of the country called Horana. So it's actually an interesting area surrounded by wildlife as well, which made me what I am at the moment. From my little days, I was running on the streets, not the streets that you have, that these are like jungles and, going fishing with friends and, that inspired me a lot. So I wanted to, have a better understanding of what my surroundings are. So that's why I went more and reached more and started studying about these nature and wildlife activities.
So that's something that you were interested in at a young age. Was there a particular animal or something that you saw a ton, around your village that really got you interested?
Also, I was really fond of, to be honest, dinosaurs, reptiles. Yeah. So from that, I've been really looking for a live one. So I was a couple of years after I realized they actually went extinct. So, like lizards, these eagles, they all have some sort of similar behavior like these, like prehistoric animals. So, yeah, from that going forward, started learning about all sorts of different species and, ended up studying about them. I mean, in school also, funny stories. After even I'm coming back from school, I used to bring small snails home. I mean, my mother will be always blaming me about this. Why are you bringing these animals home? So I started studying biology, and then after school also, I started studying natural sciences. I mean, there was no big ambitions. I just wanted to learn about these animals. That's it. That's about it. There's no career or anything. So, yeah.
Very cool. So when you go ahead.
No, I mean, university times, while I was studying, I used to be an EMT.
Oh, really?
So, yes. So, again, I used to work for the company for about 2 years. But, what I am studying and what I did as a job, there's no similarities. So, at one point, some offers from different companies, and I chose at that time, there was a leading company, a safari company. So I got a big offer from them. And that's where I started my journey to become where I am now.
How old were you when you got that first job there?
You mean the EMT job?
No, the first wildlife job.
Wildlife, that was in 2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's actually from that point onwards, I started getting paid doing my hobbies. Even before that, I mean, I used to go with my friends camping, hiking, wildlife safaris.
Yeah.
So that is my hobby, and it became I started making money out of it.
I have a similar story with kayaking here. That's interesting. Yeah, it's always
really?
Yeah, it's always interesting how you can make money from doing your favorite hobbies.
Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't feel exhausted doing it. You just enjoy every second of it.
That's right.
Not
and
can say this, you know.
That's right. You're making new friends and showing people things that you like. I can relate to that big time for sure. Well, that's cool.
Yes.
So tell me about when you first started to get involved with the Aggressor Safari Lodge.
So yeah, I was at that time again. I was working for another company at that time, and unfortunately, I had a back pain. I was like, I mean, because of my back pain, my doctors advised me to rest for a year in a row. So I was like resting for 5 months, and you know, in Sri Lanka we have our own Ayurvedic medicine.
Wow.
So because of that, I got cured like within 5 months. So
Mhm.
I actually didn't want my the previous company to look I mean take care of me. So because of that, I gave my resignation, and then I heard about Aggressor Safari Lodge. Then I went and met David,
Mhm.
David home, and
Mhm.
he actually I went and did a small tour in the lodge, and I was really happy about the surrounding area and everything. So I said yes.
Yeah. And so for the people that have never been to the Safari Lodge, or maybe listening today that have not actually traveled um, to a Safari Lodge at all, could you tell us what the Aggressor Safari Lodge is like?
The Aggressor Safari Lodge is situated in the northwestern part of the country called a small area called Vilpattu. That is also surrounded by jungles, and the lodge is actually situated by a main river stream. So there are, if you take about wildlife, even in the river there is plenty of biodiversity, starting from bird life, then huge crocs, fish, you name it. Even at the property there are like very endemic animals, interesting animals, very rare animals like lorises. Have you heard about lorises? It's a
Yes.
small, it's kind of like a bush baby without a tail.
Okay.
Uh, Nocturnal jungle cats, rusty spotted cats, like all sorts of rare ones. And again, beautiful animals like peacocks, jungle fowls. It's early mornings and evenings. It's like paradise, animals everywhere. So the tents are also like they have their own weaves. Some have the jungle weave, some have bush weave. So like that, it's unique.
It very much is. And there's a restaurant and a pool there that's there at the
Yes, there's a restaurant, there's a pool, and it's we actually when we built the lodge, we didn't do any big damages to the wildlife around it. So I mean that's the animals areas that we invaded, and like we went there and we live with animals. So with less disturbance, we prefer like operating inside. Again, attracting animals into the property also, that's kind of like our main thing, because we also enjoy looking at animals, like those kind of things.
right. And what all type of let's see, let's hold on. I had a question and I lost it. Jeez.
Sorry about that.
No. It's okay. Um, uh, okay. So tell us with the other safari lodges or safari companies that you worked with compared to Aggressor, how did it was it how did the Aggressor Safari Lodge stack up against some of the other companies?
uh, yeah, I mean, with the different companies we were mainly focusing only on wildlife. With aggressors there's a small difference, because uh, it's a unique itinerary we had, because it's not all about wildlife. We'll be covering like a huge amount of the travel for the wildlife, but there is like we will be taking our guests to, I mean, just to give you an idea of what Sri Lanka is. It's not only the wildlife. We have a big history, we
Mhm.
have culture, we have art, we have our own medicines, and like that. We at the end of the day, we like before the travelers leave, they'll have a good understanding about what Sri Lanka is.
So
So
they get to experience the culture of Sri Lanka and
yes,
see some of these different things that maybe the other safari lodges that are around the country aren't doing. That's very cool. I didn't
yes,
realize that exactly. So yeah, so I
yeah. I
know.
mean, I mean, within the country, there are people focus on one thing. So let's say if the hotel is in a cultural area, they do only the cultural trips. If it's near a wildlife area, they do wildlife tours. But with aggressors, people don't have to travel 2 days here, 2 days there. There's no big traveling. So at within staying at one place, they cover. I mean, not everything, but most of it.
Very cool. And so now let's talk about a little bit about how the operation would work with the Jeep safaris. We've already talked about the lodge. So I know you guys get up pretty early so you guys can get to the parks to be the first ones in. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, we prefer being the first or within the first bunch of vehicles that goes inside the park. The main reason is, the animals are also very active early mornings or evenings
Mhm.
because after it's after about 7:30, it becomes really hot. Not during the rainy days, but in a normal dry zone area, dry day, it's really hot. So the animals will also cease their activities and they'll go find their shelters. So we want to have the animals at their best. That's why we leave early morning. Again, according to the Sri Lankan rules, the national parks opens from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if we can go inside, I mean, if they allow us to go inside before 6, we will be up before that, like go there to become the first vehicle to go inside. Being
Ready
the
to go.
first, uh, being the first vehicle, also we get the undisturbed wildlife
Mhm.
on the sides or in the middle of the road most of the time. So it's early birds gets the worms first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. And tell us a little bit about the national parks that they take you to.
So with aggressors, we go to Vilpattu in Sri Lanka. That is the biggest national park. So in Sri Lanka, we have two main national parks called Yala and Vilpattu. Yala is towards, southeast, and Vilpattu is northwest. So comparatively, Yala is the most popular, but traffic-wise, in Yala, it's crowded. So
Mm.
you see vehicles more than animals.
Ah,
Uh, but in Vilpattu, it's more private. There's no mobile phone reception. And like in Yala, there's plenty of reception. So if there's a sighting, the word will go out and there will be like bunch of vehicles driving towards the sighting.
good
But
point.
in undisturbed, if you get a sighting, that's your exclusive sighting, and you can. I mean, if you know how to do the drive, if you don't disturb the animal, it will behave like naturally. When we have keep the distance and observe the animals' behavior. So yeah, uh, these national parks were, Sri Lanka used to be a colonial country back in the day. So in 1948, we had our independence. So these national parks were used for hunting purposes back in the
Mm.
day. So even now there are the hunting is illegal now, poaching. So they actually divided these national parks into a couple of blocks, saying block one, block two, to control the hunting. In January, February, you can hunt in block one. Another next 2 months, block two, like that, to control the animal population. So
Interesting.
in 100, they have actually named Vilpattu as a nature reserve, and 1938, if I'm not mistaken, they have named these as national parks. From that day onwards, these are the areas belongs to animals. We were just visitors, like going and observing their behavior.
Awesome. And you guys also go up to Mineria, is that right?
Yes, Min area is different comparing with Vilpattu. I already said the Vilpattu is the biggest national park. Comparatively, I mean, if you look at the Sri Lankan map also, you'll see Vilpattu in a huge area, but Min area is kind of like a tiny area. So these are Min area is situated in the North Central province. So North Central province is our first kingdom during our king's days. So our kings, they actually were really good at building tanks, huge water reservoirs. We call them tanks, not lakes. In Sri
Okay.
Lanka, we don't have natural big lakes like you do.
Mhm.
All the huge water reservoirs are man-made, built by our ancient kings. So Min area is one of a big tank made by a king called Dhatusena. So because of that lake, because of that tank, the surrounding area, it became a jungle, and water plus food attracted animals. So Mineri is mainly famous for elephants. So when the surrounding area is dry, there's still water remaining in these reservoirs. It's not only Min area. There's like nearby there's Min area, there's Kaudulla, there's Habarana, like that. Small tanks. I mean, there are elephant corridors connecting all these. Elephant corridors are like jungle patches connecting all these reservoirs.
Okay.
So animals have the freedom of migrating, walking from one to another. So during the dry season, they just come towards, gather towards these watering areas because there's plenty of food and water. And again, when the females come, the males will also follow. So during June, July, August, that's kind of like the peak of the dry season. We call there's a thing called gathering happening. So that's the biggest Asian elephant gathering in the world, if I am not mistaken. But in Sri Lanka, it's definitely the highest amount of elephants you can see at one place. So in a season, you'll be able to see average 400, 500 elephants.
Wow.
From stand.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you see? So yeah, I know Maniri is more known for the Asian elephant population, but I know you can see some elephants in Wulapatu as well. Do you see
Yes.
a variety of different things that are only at one of the other parks, or is it kind of you could potentially see?
The animals are there. The thing is, Min area is mainly, it depends with what animal you want to see. Let's say you want to have a look at a leopard.
Mhm.
I mean, these animals, they don't perform. I have to tell this. They don't perform. So it's our luck. If the animals want us to see them, they'll come out and, show us themselves. Otherwise, that's actually a really nice thing about these wildlife ranging. It's not like you're going on a zoo and stopping at the leopard cage and there's a leopard. It's not
Yeah.
like that. If you're really lucky, you'll be able to. But density wise, there's a good chance of having a nice sighting. So if you're really into big cats, let's say leopards, Vilpattu is the best place. And again, in Vilpattu, you'll be able to see bear. In Sri Lanka, we have one species of bear called sloth bear. Vilpattu is the ideal best place. Comparing with Yal also, I would say Vilpattu is the best place because it's the ideal climate and the terrains for bear activities, termite mounds, and plenty of food for them.
Okay.
So bear, Vilpattu, bear and leopards, Vilpattu, but herds of elephants, Min area.
Do you have? I would imagine for anyone who's not used to seeing elephants or leopards, that's right off the bat going to be your favorite thing to see because it's something so large, so intimidating. Is there any other animals besides those two that are probably easy to say that you would consider your favorite thing to see that you get most excited about in either of those two parks?
Even before I go on a drive, I start a drive, I do a small briefing about this because, everyone comes and, they tells me like, I want to see a leopard, I want to see elephants, I want to see this and that, it's not, we can't guarantee these animals. And again, these are the hardest animals, but I have to say there are harder animals than a leopard. If you do like 4 drives in a row, you will have at least one sighting of a leopard. But there are, if you do 30 drives, you won't be able to see a jungle cat. You won't be able to see a rusty spotted cat. So these are like small cats that we have in the country that, it's really rare to see them. But from that, in general, the wildlife is amazing. Again, it's not, pointing your finger and telling the animal's name. It's how they behave. So if you get to know how the interesting ways of the animals behave, you'll you'll remember the animal for life. Let's say a hornbill. So it's a prehistoric looking big bird with beak, and on top of the beak, there's another part. We call it the casque. So these animals are mates for life, and there's plenty of strange activities happening in between these male and female. So when we observe these animals, these birds, I mean, I had people coming and wanting to see leopards, but end of the drive they go home. I mean, talking about they at end of the day, they have seen a leopard also, but they always talk about hornbills. Like that
Interesting.
situation can be different.
There's so much to see that I imagine people will get surprised by seeing some of the things that they did not expect to see, and that kind
Yes,
of can make the trip a little bit. Well, since we're talking
yes.
about animals, do you have any particular um, really great wildlife encounters that you think you'll remember for your lifetime?
Yeah,
As many of the
plenty. I mean,
encounters you have seen, do you have any
oh,
that stand out?
stand out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's no, like with guests, there are plenty of. I'll tell some stories that happened to me while on drives in a vehicle. But on foot, there are plenty of dangerous things. I almost died a couple of times.
Oh, God.
Not with guests, but trekking with some of my friends.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, one time. Let's see what story I was gonna tell. I was surrounded by a herd of elephants, and the vehicle also gave some engine trouble, and I was unable to move from that area. So the herd of elephants just, surrounded me,
Oh,
was about to charge, and luckily they didn't charge. And lucky for me, another different, the second driver appeared. In Vilpattu, you don't see a vehicle for hours sometimes. So that was my luck. The second vehicle came and my engine was not starting. So I was surrounded by these elephants. A family was with me. So yeah, I told the driver to stay there and rev the engine uh, until I got down and pushed the vehicle, push start, and somehow I got the engine started and flew the area, fled from the elephants.
wow.
That's one. On foot, this was not without guest, but on foot, I was doing a small bushwalk with some of my friends, local friends, and I ended up getting a really close encounter with two leopards, a mating pair,
Oh,
a male,
really?
huge, huge leopards. We actually kept our distance, like looking through the trees, and I have the whole thing videoed actually.
Wow. I'm glad they didn't
So yeah,
see you.
every day is different. Every day is adventurous. You will see different things every day when you're in the jungle.
Yeah,
I mean, every sighting you don't. There's no same thing happening again when it comes to wildlife. Even though you take the drive on the same roads, everything is different.
very cool. One other thing that I've always seen, I put together the videos here and run the social media here at Aggressor. So I get to see all these great images coming through in the video clips. And one thing that's always impressed me, and one thing I really want to do if I ever get to go over that way to Sri Lanka, is go to Sigiriya Rock. And I hope I didn't butcher
Yeah.
the name. Did I say that okay? Is it
See,
Sigiriya?
yes,
Okay.
Sigiri Rock.
Can you tell us about that? Because for what I see, it's a giant rock formation, and it looks like you can climb. I know you can climb all the way to the top. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sigiriya, I mean, geographically speaking, we call that kind of rocks inselberg. So millions of years back, because of the core pressure, the soft rock, because of the pressure, it pushes up. So years after, the soft rock will erode and the hard rock will remain. That's how in a plain area, Sigiriya is situated in a plain area. There's no big mountains nearby. So it's
Hmm.
all of a sudden, it's a huge rock standing up. So because of that, like it actually formed millions of years back, and the soft rocks eroded, and now the hard rock stands. It's granite,
Hmm.
metamorph. Uh, and then historically speaking, that there's actually plenty of history. I mean, arguments going on about Sigiriya, but everyone believes that it used to be a fortress of a king called Kashyapa. So, long story short, he killed his father, and his younger brother was looking for King Kashyapa to get revenge. Somehow, the younger brother fled to India to escape from his brother, because in the beginning, the brother was also looking for his younger brother to kill him.
Hmm.
So he fled to India. Meanwhile, King Kashyapa came to Sigiriya rock area, and he found the area he actually saw the area as a fortress. So he somehow created a fortress. There's a big ruins of an ancient fortress on top of the rock, as well as at the base of the rock. So
Hmm.
yeah, he was living a really like, even with all the what you call the risks from like about to happen from his brother, he lived a very luxurious life. From the ruins, there are like water gardens, boulder gardens, flower gardens, and nice. And excuse me. Uh, and also, the weapons of mass destruction. So they had big rocks, like about to leave. Like rock formations on top, big
Yeah.
rocks. So if there's like an invasion coming, they can push the rocks from above. So there will be a large number of people deaths at the bottom. So
Wow.
like that, like using, or even from the fossil records, we like I actually in university I did a research like around Sigiriya. So we found like fossils of elephants, horses. That means they have used these kind of animals for their buildings, and like transport and everything.
Wow.
Again, some technologies, it's really hard to believe how they did that. Still, we don't have proof how they did. For example, they have there are fountains on top of the rock. There are pools on top of the rock, and in the rainy season, these are still functional.
Wow.
I mean, there's something happening underneath, and we still don't know what's going on.
Wow. That's impressive.
Everything is destroyed because Sri Lanka, we had lots of invasions come from foreign countries. Yeah.
Wow. And so now Sigiriya is kind of like a tourist thing, right? And people hike up to it. How long does it take to hike to the
Yes.
top?
Uh, I mean, we again in Sigiriya, we with aggressors we leave early morning,
Mhm.
so we will be there around 9, and straight away, like with enjoying all the caves and paintings and everything, it takes about, let's say, 3 hours up and down.
Okay. Okay. Very cool.
It's average 1,000 steps.
Okay. So bring your tennis shoes, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
No high heels.
Yeah,
uh,
no high heels.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about, and if you can, tell me a little bit about Project Orange Elephant.
They basically, what they do is, they to prevent the human elephant conflict. There are plenty of experiments going on, to keep the elephants away. Sometimes they give these the crops that the elephants dislike. So in here they give the villagers orange trees. So because of the thorns, and the people believe elephants don't like, they'll keep their distance from orange trees. So because of that, they'll not come near. And there's another thing happening with bees. They don't like the sound of beehives.
Hmm.
So if you have beehives like nearby, the elephants will keep their distance from them. So that's
Really?
how. Not 100% like a guaranteed project, because we are talking about wild and animals. They will find their way somehow around.
Yeah.
So just minimize the human elephant conflict. These things, people come up with these ideas, and they will experiment on these things.
It's very interesting that an orange tree and a beehive could keep elephants away just from, I guess, the scent of the
Yes,
citrus, and then being afraid
that's
of
why
getting
I told you. I
stung.
mean, they don't work 100%, but sometimes it'll work. because in
Yeah.
the beginning the government started using electric fences.
Okay.
So because of the electric fence, they thought the animals will keep their habitat. I mean, they live inside the jungles without coming out. But the elephants are really smart animals. They somehow these wooden poles, they know somehow found that these wooden poles are not electrified. So
Hmm.
what they did, they came and pushed the wooden pole down, and so the whole fence came down with it. They can easily walk through it. So
Wow.
like that, they somehow find their way. It's a never-ending battle with these animals.
Well, that is very cool to hear about a little bit there about Project Orange Elephant, because not only is it keeping the elephants safe and keeping the farms protected, but it's also finding a new way to get some of those farmers an extra a little some funds from selling a new crop. It's very interesting. Well, Marlon, this call's been really interesting. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Uh, I
or
mean,
or invite people that are listening today to come visit Sri Lanka
yeah,
for
definitely.
themselves?
I mean, yeah, there's plenty of things to see this, like, and like how like a half an hour is not enough to explain what's happening in the country. So this is just like touching the surface, and just a small idea of what our country is and what we do with aggressors. So yeah, I mean, if you come here, you will never regret it. That's what I have to say at the end.
There we go. You can't get anything better than that. Well, Marlon, I appreciate you being on, and if I ever come over there to Sri Lanka, I'm gonna
Thank
get
you
in
for having
contact.
me.
I'm gonna get in contact with you. And we'll go out and show me some stuff. Does that sound good?
All right, cool.
All right. Thanks, Marlon. We will talk to you soon, and thanks everyone for tuning in for another episode of Inspired by Adventure podcast. We will see you next time. Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Inspired by Adventure podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you haven't already, please subscribe through iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next time.